Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Unity 1, Earth's biggest space station. Through the large windows, he could see something that made his stomach feel sick. Thousands of alien ships filled the space around Earth. They were huge, made of what looked like black crystal, and they blocked out the stars. Jake had been a soldier for 20 years. He had fought in 3 wars and seen many terrible things. But he had never seen anything like this. The alien fleet was so big that it would take hours just to count all the ships. "Sir, the alien ambassador is ready to meet with you," said Lieutenant Amy Foster. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and scared eyes. Jake did not blame her for being afraid. Everyone on the station was afraid. Jake walked to the meeting room. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. Other crew members moved quickly through the halls, getting ready for what might come. Next, some of them looked at Jake with hope in their eyes. They believed he could save them somehow. The meeting room was simple and clean. In the center was a table with chairs around it. On one side sat President Lisa Carter. She had come from Earth just for this meeting. Her face was calm, but Jake could see worry in her eyes. On the other side of the table was something that did not look human at all. The alien was 8 feet tall and looked like a giant bug. Its body was covered in hard, black shell pieces. It had 4 arms and 6 legs. Its head was shaped like a triangle, with many small eyes that glowed red in the dark. "I am Kethmer," the alien said. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I speak for the Kavari Empire. We rule 17 star systems. We have come to give you humans a choice." Jake sat down next to President Carter. He kept his hand near his gun, even though he knew it would not help much against these aliens. "What kind of choice?" President Carter asked. Her voice was steady and strong. Kethmer moved 2 of its 4 arms. "You will leave this planet. You will come with us to work for the Empire. We will change your bodies to make you stronger and better workers. Every year, you will give us 10 million humans to work on our planets." The room became very quiet. Jake felt his heart beating fast. He looked at President Carter, who had not moved at all. "And if we say no?" she asked. "Then we will destroy your planet and everyone on it," Kethmer said. "We have done this to 43 other planets. Your weapons cannot hurt our ships. Your defenses cannot stop us. You have 1 day to decide." Jake wanted to stand up and hit the alien, but he stayed in his chair. He had been trained to control his anger. President Carter smiled a little. "You know, my grandfather used to tell me stories about bullies. Big, mean people who picked on smaller, weaker people. He taught me that the only way to deal with a bully is to stand up to them." "You do not understand," Kethmer said. Its red eyes glowed brighter. "We are not bullies. We are the rulers of this part of space. We have been conquering planets for 3,000 years. No one has ever said no to us and lived." "Well," President Carter said, "there's a first time for everything." The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then Kethmer stood up. All 8 feet of the alien looked down at the 2 humans. "You are making a mistake," it said. "We will give you 1 day to think about it. Tomorrow, you will give us your answer. Choose wisely." The alien walked out of the room. Its 6 legs made clicking sounds on the floor. When it was gone, Jake turned to President Carter. "Ma'am, we can't fight them," he said. "Look at how many ships they have. Our entire fleet has maybe 200 ships. They have thousands." President Carter stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the alien fleet. "Jake, do you know what my job was before I became president?" she asked. "No, ma'am. I was a teacher. I taught history to high school kids." "Do you know what I learned from studying history?" Jake shook his head. "I learned that the biggest armies don't always win. Sometimes the people who look weak turn out to be the strongest of all. At that moment, Dr. Ryan Bell walked into the room. He was a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He was Earth's top scientist and one of the smartest people alive. "Ma'am, I heard what happened in the meeting," he said. "Are we really going to fight them?" President Carter turned around. "Ryan, how long have you been working on the Prometheus project?" 15 years, ma'am. Ever since we first detected alien signals from deep space." "And is it ready?" Dr. Bell smiled for the first time in months. "Yes, ma'am, it's ready." Jake did not know what the Prometheus project was. It was so secret that only a few people knew about it, but seeing Dr. Bell smile made him feel better. "What exactly is this project?" Jake asked President Carter, and Dr. Bell looked at each other. Then President Carter nodded. "Jake, for the past 50 years, while other species in the galaxy were building bigger and bigger fleets, we were doing something different. We were learning how the universe really works. We discovered things that these aliens never even dreamed of." "What kind of things?" Dr. Bell pushed his glasses up on his nose. "We learned how to bend space and time. We learned how to move through dimensions that don't exist in normal space. We built weapons that can reach anywhere in the galaxy in seconds." Jake felt confused. "But if we have such amazing weapons, why don't the aliens know about them?" "Because we hid them," President Carter said. "We made it look like we were weak and helpless. We wanted any aliens who found us to think we would be easy to conquer." "Why would you do that?" "Because the best way to win a fight is to let your enemy think they've already won," Dr. Bell said. "These aliens came here expecting to find scared, helpless humans. Instead, they're about to discover that they picked a fight with the wrong planet." Outside the window, the alien ships moved closer to Earth. Their weapons began to glow with deadly energy. But inside Unity 1, 3 humans were getting ready to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. Jake looked out at the alien fleet and smiled. For the first time since the aliens arrived, he was not afraid. Tomorrow, when President Carter gave the aliens Earth's answer, the whole galaxy would learn that humans don't kneel to anyone. 2 days had passed since President Carter told the aliens no. The Kavari Empire was not happy about Earth's answer. Their huge black ships moved into attack positions around the planet. Each ship was the size of a city and carried enough weapons to destroy mountains. Admiral Steve Parker sat in his command chair on Luna Base, the moon's biggest military station. He watched the alien fleet on his screens and waited for orders. Steve had gray hair and calm blue eyes. He had been fighting in space battles for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, the alien ships are powering up there." "Main weapons," said Commander Kate Williams from her ship, the ESV Defiance. Kate was one of Earth's best pilots. She was brave and smart, as she never backed down from a fight. Steve looked at the readings on his screen. The alien weapons were incredibly powerful. Each ship could crack a planet's surface with one shot. But Steve was not worried. He knew something the aliens did not. "All ships stay in position," Steve said into his radio. "Wait for my signal." The alien fleet moved closer to Earth. Their leader, War Chief Zexthul, sat on the bridge of the biggest ship. He was even larger than the ambassador, with thick armor covering his entire body. His ship was called the Planet Killer, and it had destroyed 43 worlds. "Begin the attack," Zexthul ordered his crew. "Show these humans what happens when they refuse the Empire." Bright beams of energy shot out from thousands of alien ships. The beams were hot enough to melt steel and strong enough to level cities. They hit Earth's atmosphere and kept going down toward the planet's surface. But something strange happened. The energy beams bent and twisted as they got close to Earth's cities. Instead of hitting buildings and people, The beams curved away and shot harmlessly into space. What is happening? Zexthul roared. He had never seen anything like this before. On Luna Base, Steve smiled. Gravitational shields are working perfectly, he said. The aliens can shoot at us all day, but they can't hit us. The gravitational shields are one of Earth's greatest secrets. They use the planet's gravity to bend space around cities and military bases. Any attack would curve away and miss its target completely. Sir, should we start fighting back? Kate asked from her ship. Not yet, Steve said. Let them waste their energy first. When they get tired and confused, then we'll show them what humans can do. For 2 hours, the alien fleet kept shooting at Earth. Every shot missed. Every beam of energy curved away from its target. The aliens began to panic. They had never fought an enemy they could not hit. Lieutenant Amy Foster sat in the cockpit of her Phoenix-class fighter. She was inside a special hangar on Unity 1, waiting for orders. Her ship looked small and simple, but it was the most advanced fighter ever built. Amy was excited and scared at the same time. Phoenix Squadron, this is Admiral Parker. Steve's voice came through her radio. It's time to show these aliens how. Humans fight. Launch when ready. Amy pushed the start button on her ship. The engine made no sound at all. Phoenix fighters used quantum drives that were completely silent. She flew out of the hangar and into space dot around her. 50 other Phoenix fighters did the same thing. They looked like tiny dots next to the huge alien ships. But Amy knew that size did not matter in this fight. Remember your training, she said to her squadron. Phase drives on. Let's go. Amy pushed another button, and her ship seemed to disappear. She could still see everything around her, but her ship was no longer in normal space. It was moving through quantum dimensions that the aliens could not detect or touch. The Phoenix fighters flew straight at the alien fleet. The aliens tried to shoot them, but their weapons passed right through the human ships like they were made of air. The fighters were moving through a different layer of reality. Amy flew her ship inside one of the alien vessels. The big black ship was filled with corridors and rooms where bug-like creatures worked at strange machines. Amy could see them, but they could not see her dot. She found the ship's main power core and aimed her weapons at it. Phoenix fighters carried quantum torpedoes that could destroy matter at the atomic level. When Amy fired, the alien ship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment it was gone. All around the alien fleet, the same thing was happening. Human fighters appeared inside alien ships for just a few seconds, fired their weapons, and then disappeared again. The alien ships did not explode or catch fire. They just vanished completely. Impossible. Zexthul shouted as he watched his fleet disappear ship by ship. How are they doing this? His science officer, a smaller alien with 6 arms, worked frantically at his controls. Sir, I cannot detect the human ships at all. They appear to be moving through dimensions we cannot access. Captain Tony Garcia flew his ship, the ESV Retribution, through the middle of the alien fleet. His ship was bigger than the fighters, but still tiny compared to the alien vessels. Tony had been fighting in space for 15 years, and he loved every minute of it. Time to test the new disruptor cannon, Tony said to his crew. Target the big ship in the center. The ESV Retribution fired a weapon that looked like a beam of twisted light. When it hit Zexthul's flagship, the massive ship began to break apart at the molecular level. The atoms that made up the ship's hull simply came apart and drifted away into space. Zexthul felt his ship shaking and falling apart around him. He had ruled a fleet of 500,000 ships, but now he could not even protect himself from a few tiny human vessels. Retreat, he ordered. All ships retreat immediately, but it was too late for most of his fleet. Only a few dozen ships managed to escape. The rest had been destroyed by weapons the aliens did not understand and could not fight against. Back on Luna Base, Steve watched the alien ships run away. In just 4 hours, humanity had destroyed 90% of the attack fleet. Not a single human ship had been damaged. "Well done, everyone," Steve said into his radio. "But this is just the beginning. When word gets back to the Empire, they'll send everything they have." Colonel Nina Brooks, Earth's intelligence chief, walked up to Steve's command chair. She was a tall woman with short black hair and serious brown eyes. Her job was to know what enemies were planning before they knew it themselves. "Sir, our spy satellites picked up the aliens' retreat signal," she said. "They're calling for help from their entire empire. We can expect a much bigger fleet to arrive soon." Steve nodded. "How much bigger?" "Maybe 500,000 ships." "Sir, the entire Kavari military." Steve smiled. "Good. When they all arrive, we can finish this war in one battle instead of fighting them bit by bit for years." Nina looked surprised. "Sir, even with our new technology, can we really fight half 1,000,000 ships?" "Nina, these aliens think like generals from 1,000 years ago. They believe that having more ships means they will win. But wars are not won by having the most weapons. They are won by having the best weapons." As the last alien ships disappeared into deep space, Earth began preparing for the real war. The aliens had seen only a tiny sample of human technology. When they returned with their full strength, they would discover that humanity had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's children were not as helpless as they appeared. 3 months after Earth's first victory, the galaxy was in chaos. Emperor Vexthara, ruler of the Kavari Empire, sat on his crystal throne in the capital city of Vexmar. He was the biggest and most powerful Kavari alive, with golden armor covering his massive body. For 3,000 years, his family had ruled the galaxy with fear and violence. Now, for the first time in his life, the emperor was afraid. "Bring me War Chief Zexthul," he commanded his guards. His voice was deep and terrible, like thunder during a storm. Zexthul limped into the throne room. His armor was broken and burned from the battle with humans. Half of his face was covered in scars. He knelt before his emperor, knowing that his life hung by a thread. "You lost 90% of your fleet to a handful of primitive ships," the emperor said. Each word dripped with anger. "Explain to me how this is possible." Zexthul kept his head down. "Your Majesty, the humans have technology we have never seen before. Their ships can become invisible and untouchable. Their weapons destroy matter itself. They are not the weak species we thought they were." The emperor stood up from his throne. He was 12 feet tall and weighed as much as a small vehicle. "I do not care what technology they have. I want them destroyed. I want their planet turned dust. I want every human in the galaxy dead." "Yes, Your Majesty," Zexthul said. "You will take 500,000 ships," the emperor continued. "Every warship in the Empire. You will also take the planet destroyers and the system killers. I want the humans to know what happens when someone defies the Kavari Empire." Far away, on a hidden ship in deep space, General Alex Turner watched the alien capital world through advanced spy equipment. Alex was Earth's top military strategist, a quiet man with intelligent green eyes. He had been studying the Kavari Empire for months, learning their weaknesses. "Dr. Walsh, are you seeing this?" Alex asked. Dr. Susan Walsh looked up from her computer. She was a scientist who studied alien creatures and their behavior. Susan had spent years learning how different species thought and acted. "Yes, General. The Emperor is gathering the largest military force in galactic history. Every ship in the Empire is heading to one location. Alex smiled. Perfect. They're doing exactly what we hoped they would do. I don't understand, sir. How is this perfect? They're bringing everything they have to destroy Earth. Susan, what's the first rule of war? Susan thought for a moment. Know your enemy? Close. The first rule is, never fight the battle your enemy wants you to fight. The Kavari think this is about Earth versus their empire. But they're wrong. This is about freedom versus slavery for the entire galaxy. Captain Ben Clark was flying. His ship, the ESV Vindication, through Kavari space. Ben was a master at sneaking past enemy defenses. His job was to listen to alien communications and find out their plans. General Turner, I'm picking up interesting chatter, Ben said into his radio. The aliens are splitting their force. Half are going to Earth, but the other half are going to attack human colonies. Alex nodded. They want to cut off our supply lines and trap Earth. It's a smart plan, but they don't know about the Prometheus Protocol. Back on Earth, Professor Carl Hayes was working in a secret laboratory deep underground. Carl was the man who had designed humanity's most powerful weapons. He was old and thin, but his mind was sharper than ever. Lisa, it's time, Carl said to President Carter, who was visiting the lab. President Carter looked at the big computer screen in front of them. It showed a map of the entire galaxy, with thousands of tiny dots scattered across it. Each dot is one of our automated probes, Carl explained. For the past 20 years, we've been secretly placing them throughout Kavari space. They've been sleeping, waiting for this moment. How many probes are there? President Carter asked. 100,000. Each one carries enough quantum explosives to destroy a planet. President Carter felt a chill run down her spine. Carl, are you telling me we can destroy any target in the galaxy instantly? Yes, ma'am. The Kavari spent centuries building their empire. We can tear it down in a matter of days. The president took a deep breath. Do it. Carl typed a code into his computer. Across the galaxy, 100,000 sleeping probes suddenly came to life. They had been hidden for decades, disguised as space rocks or broken satellites. Now, they began their deadly work. The first target was a huge shipyard where the Kavari built their warships. The probe appeared next to the shipyard's main factory and exploded. The entire facility, along with 50 ships under construction, simply vanished. It happened so fast that no one even saw it coming. On the Kavari homeworld, alarms began ringing. In the military command center, reports flooded in from across the empire. Shipyards were disappearing. Mining operations were being destroyed. Communication stations were going silent. What is happening? Emperor Vexthara roared at his officers. Sir, we're under attack, said General Yethkar, the Empire's top military commander. But we can't find the attackers. Our facilities are just ... vanishing. How many attacks so far? 300, sir. And the number is growing every minute. Commander. Lisa Stone sat in Earth's deep space monitoring station. Her job was to watch the enemy and report what they were doing. Lisa was calm under pressure and never missed important details. The alien empire is falling apart, she reported to Admiral Parker. They're losing major facilities every few minutes. Their fleet is trying to respond, but they don't know what they're fighting. Any word from their capital? Yes, sir. The Emperor has declared martial law across the entire empire. He's recalling all military forces to defend the core worlds. Admiral Parker smiled, which means their attack on Earth just got much smaller. How many ships are still heading our way? About 50,000, sir. Still a large force, but much more manageable. The Kavari Empire was learning what humans had known. For centuries, wars are not won by the side with the most soldiers. They are won by the side that strikes first, and strikes smart as reports of more attacks came in. Emperor Vexthar realized he was fighting an enemy he did not understand. The humans were not just defending Earth. They were destroying his entire civilization from the inside out. "Call back the attack fleet," he ordered. "We need those ships to defend our own worlds." But it was too late. The message would take weeks to reach the fleet heading for Earth. By then, the war would be over, and the Kavari Empire would be just a memory. Across the galaxy, freed alien species watched in amazement as their Kavari oppressors fled in panic. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire's grip on power was slipping, and it was all because one small planet had refused to kneel. 6 months had passed since the war began. The Kavari Empire was dying. Every day, more star systems declared independence. Every hour, more ships surrendered rather than fight humanity's quantum weapons. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone thought possible. Captain Dan Miller stood on the bridge of the ESV Judgment as his ship moved through quantum space toward the Kavari homeworld. Dan was a veteran of many battles, with gray hair and steady hands. He had volunteered to lead the most dangerous mission of the war, a direct attack on the Empire's capital. "Sir, we're approaching the Vexmar system," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, who had been promoted after her heroic actions in the first battle. "I'm detecting over 1 million defense platforms and 50,000 patrol ships." Dan nodded. "They've pulled back every ship they have to protect their homeworld." "Perfect. When we're done here, they won't have anything left." Dr. Peter Shaw worked at his station, studying readings from the alien technology they had captured. Peter was a thin man with wild hair who understood how alien machines worked. His discoveries had helped Earth build even better weapons. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface," Peter said. "They have some kind of superweapon down there. If they use it, it could destroy our entire fleet." "How long before they can fire it?" "Maybe 10 minutes, sir." Dan smiled. "Then we better work fast. Amy, take us into the quantum dimensions. Let's show these aliens why humans don't give up." The ESV Judgment and 20 other human ships disappeared from normal space. They reappeared inside the Kavari defense grid, past all the mines and weapon platforms. The alien defenders tried to shoot at them, but the human ships phased in and out of reality too quickly to hit. Fleet Admiral Rachel Green coordinated the attack from her command ship near Earth. Rachel was Earth's top naval commander, a woman who had won every battle she ever fought. She watched the battle on her screens as human ships appeared throughout the Kavari home system. "All ships target priority facilities," Rachel ordered. "Destroy their communication centers first, and their weapon factories." The human ships spread out across the system like ghosts. They appeared next to important buildings, fired their quantum weapons, and disappeared again. Entire military bases simply stopped existing. Communication towers turned to dust. Weapon factories vanished without a trace. On the planet's surface, Emperor Vexthara watched his capital city burn. Buildings that had stood for thousands of years were being erased from existence. His mighty empire was crumbling around him. "Fire! The planet killer!" he screamed at his technicians. "Destroy them all." But when his men tried to activate the super weapon, nothing happened. Human ships had already destroyed the power stations that fed it. The Empire's last hope was dead. "Captain, Sam Brown led a special mission to the outer edge of the system." Sam was young but brave, and he cared deeply about helping others. His job was to free the alien slaves who worked in the Empire's factories. "This is Captain Brown to all slave ships," Sam broadcast on every frequency. "You are free. The Kavari Empire is finished. We are here to help you get home." On factory ships throughout the system, millions of enslaved aliens heard the message. They had been taken from their homeworlds by force and made to work for the Empire. Now, for the first time in years, they had hope. The slaves began to rebel against their Kavari guards. They took control of ships and space stations. Some species that had been enslaved for centuries were finally able to fight back against their oppressors. Dr. Susan Walsh monitored the rebellion from her ship. She watched as dozens of different alien species worked together to overthrow their captors. General Turner, the psychological effect is remarkable, Susan reported. The Empire's power was based on fear. Now that fear is gone, their control is collapsing everywhere. General Alex Turner nodded as he watched the chaos spread across Kavari space. Fear only works if people believe the person with power can't be defeated. Once you show that the bully can be beaten, everyone stops being afraid. Back on the Kavari homeworld, Emperor Vexthara made a desperate decision. If he could not save his empire, he would destroy everything rather than let others have it. Activate the planet destroyer, he ordered. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will. The planet destroyer was the Empire's most terrible weapon. It could make a star explode and destroy an entire solar system. But when the Emperor's men tried to turn it on, they discovered that human ships had already found it and destroyed it. Impossible. The Emperor roared. It was hidden in the deepest bunker on the planet. Commander Eric Davis had led the team that found and destroyed the weapon. Eric was an expert at finding things that people wanted to keep hidden. He and his team had used quantum scanners to search the entire planet in minutes. All major weapon systems are down, Eric reported to Captain Miller. The Emperor has no way to fight back now. As the battle raged, something unexpected happened. Kavari soldiers began to surrender. Not just a few, but entire fleets. They had spent their lives believing the Empire was invincible. Now they saw it falling apart in front of their eyes. Lieutenant Colonel Nina Brooks intercepted communications between surrendering Kavari units. She learned that many of them had never wanted to fight this war. They were soldiers following orders, not true believers in the Empire's cause. Admiral Green were receiving surrender requests from over 200 Kavari ships, Nina reported. They want to stop fighting. Rachel thought for a moment. Accept their surrender, but keep them under guard. We'll sort out who did what after. The war is over. The battle for the Kavari homeworld lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the mighty capital of a galactic empire lay in ruins. The Emperor's palace was gone. The military command centers were destroyed. The weapon factories were dust. But the most important victory was not military. It was moral. Across the galaxy, billions of enslaved beings watched as their oppressors fell. They saw that freedom was possible. They learned that tyranny could be defeated. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who had been documenting the war, sent a message to Earth. The Empire is finished, she reported. Not just defeated, but completely destroyed. There's nothing left of their government or military. On Earth, President Carter received the news in her office. She felt relief, but also sadness. War was always terrible, even when it was necessary. How many Kavari died? She asked. Fewer than we expected, ma'am. Most of their military surrendered once they realized they couldn't win. The Emperor and his inner circle died when their bunker collapsed, but most of the population survived. President Carter nodded. Good. This war was about freedom, not revenge. Help the survivors rebuild their world as a free democracy. As news of the Empire's fall spread across the galaxy, something beautiful began to happen. Species that had been enemies for centuries started working together. Planets that had been isolated began to communicate. The galaxy was becoming a place of cooperation instead of conquest. The war was almost over, but the real work of building peace was just beginning. 1 year had passed since Earth refused to kneel. The galaxy was completely different now. Where once the Kavari Empire had ruled with fear and violence, dozens of free worlds now governed themselves. The age of galactic tyranny was over. President Lisa Carter stood in the Great Assembly Hall on Earth, looking out at representatives from 47 different species. They had come from across the galaxy to sign the Galactic Freedom Charter, a document that would guarantee rights and democracy for all thinking beings. Friends, President Carter said to the gathering, 1 year ago, we were told to surrender our freedom or face destruction. Today, we gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals in a new age of liberty. The alien representatives clapped and cheered in dozens of different ways. Some made musical sounds, others flashed bright colors, and a few drummed with multiple arms. All of them were celebrating the same thing. Freedom. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the front row, wearing his dress uniform with new medals on his chest. Jake thought back to that terrible day when he first met the Kavari ambassador. He had been so afraid then. Now he felt only pride in what humanity had accomplished. We didn't just win a war, Jake thought to himself. We changed the entire galaxy. Commander Eric Davis walked through the ruins of what used to be the Kavari capital city. Eric was leading the cleanup teams that were helping survivors rebuild their world. Most of the Kavari people had been innocent civilians who just wanted to live peaceful lives. The former emperor's palace is completely gone, Eric reported to his team. But we found something interesting in the ruins. His team gathered around a strange crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Dr. Peter Shaw examined it with his instruments. It's a memory crystal, Peter said with excitement. It contains the history of the Empire, going back thousands of years. This could help us understand how they became so violent. Eric nodded. And maybe help make sure nothing like this ever happens again. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Sam Brown was helping a group of freed slaves return to their homeworld. These were the Valani, a peaceful species that had been enslaved for 200 years. Sam watched as families were reunited for the first time in generations. Captain Brown, said Elder Kelter, the oldest Villani on the ship, my people will never forget what humanity did for us. You gave us back our freedom when we thought it was lost forever. Sam smiled. We just did what any decent people would do. Nobody deserves to be a slave. But you fought an entire empire to free us. Why would you risk so much for strangers? Sam thought about the question. Because freedom isn't just for humans. It's for everyone. If we only cared about ourselves, we wouldn't be much better than the empire. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was working on her book about the war. Jennifer had interviewed hundreds of people from dozens of species to tell the complete story of how the galaxy changed. She wanted future generations to understand what had happened and why. The most important lesson, Jennifer wrote, is that tyranny can always be defeated if people are willing to stand up to it. The Kavari Empire looked invincible, but it fell because one planet refused to surrender its values. Fleet Admiral Rachel Green was meeting with the new Galactic Defense Force, an organization made up of ships from many different worlds. Their job was to protect freedom and prevent any future empires from rising. We're not building a military to conquer anyone, Rachel explained to the mixed group of alien commanders. We're building a force to protect the peace and help any world that asks for assistance. Commander Kate Williams, now promoted to Admiral, nodded in agreement. The old empire used fear to control people. We'll use cooperation and mutual respect. A tall, blue-skinned alien named Captain Zorath raised one of his 4 hands. Admiral Green, what happens if someone tries to build a new empire? What if they have better weapons than us? Rachel smiled. Then we'll do what humans have always done. We'll find a way to stop them. The secret isn't having the biggest army. It's having the strongest principles. Back on Earth, Dr. Ryan Bell was working in his laboratory with a team of scientists from 12 different species. They were sharing technology and knowledge to solve problems that had puzzled the galaxy for centuries. The quantum drives are working perfectly, Dr. Bell reported to his alien colleagues. With these ships, we can reach any part of the galaxy in hours instead of years. Dr. Yulvin, a small green scientist with 6 eyes, was amazed by human technology. Your species accomplished in 50 years what most civilizations take 500 years to develop. How is this possible? Dr. Bell thought for a moment. I think it's because we had to. When you know that bullies might come to your door someday, you work harder to be ready for them. Professor Carl Hayes, now very old but still sharp, was teaching young scientists from across the galaxy. His students included humans, aliens, and even some former Kavari who wanted to help build a better future. The most powerful weapon, Carl told his class, is not quantum torpedoes or planet destroyers. It's the idea that all people deserve to be free. Ideas can't be destroyed by bombs or conquered by armies. A young Kavari student raised her hand. Professor Hayes, do you hate my people for what the Empire did? Carl shook his head. I hate what your Empire did, but I don't hate your people. Most Kavari were victims of the Empire, just like everyone else. Now you have a chance to build something better. On the former Kavari homeworld, something wonderful was happening. The planet's new democratic government was holding its first free elections. Citizens who had never been allowed to vote were choosing their own leaders for the first time. General Alex Turner watched the election results with satisfaction. The people were choosing leaders who promised peace, cooperation, and friendship with other worlds. Democracy is messy and slow, Alex said to his aide, but it's better than tyranny any day. Lieutenant Amy Foster, now a captain, was leading a mission to explore the far edges of the galaxy. Her job was to make contact with species that had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy during the Empire's rule. Captain, we're receiving a signal from an unknown species, her communications officer reported. They're asking if it's safe to come out of hiding. Amy smiled. Tell them that the Empire is gone forever. Tell them they're free to join the galactic community whenever they're ready. As the ceremony on Earth continued, President Carter read, From the Freedom Charter, we, the free peoples of the galaxy, promise to protect the rights of all thinking beings. We will never again allow tyranny to rise. We will help each other in times of need. We will explore the stars together in peace. Every representative in the hall signed the document. When the last signature was added, the crowd erupted in celebration. Fireworks lit up the sky above. Earth's ships from 47 worlds performed a massive space parade. Captain Jake Morrison walked outside and looked up at the stars. A year ago, those stars had seemed dangerous and full of enemies. Now they looked bright and welcoming, full of friends and possibilities. Sir, Lieutenant Amy Foster said, walking up beside him. What do you think happens next? Jake smiled. I think we keep exploring. I think we keep learning. And I think we keep standing up for what's right, no matter who tries to stop us. Do you think there might be other empires out there? Other bullies who might try to conquer the galaxy? Maybe, Jake said. But if there are, they'll learn the same lesson the Kavari learned. Freedom isn't something you can take away from people who are willing to fight for it. As the celebration continued into the night, ships carried the news across the galaxy. The message was simple but powerful. Earth had refused to kneel, and now everyone was free. In the Outer Rim territories, former slaves were building new cities on worlds they now owned. In the core systems, scientists were sharing knowledge that would benefit everyone. Throughout the galaxy, children were growing up free, never knowing the fear their parents had lived with under the Empire. The war was over. The Empire was gone, and the galaxy belonged to the free. On Earth, President Carter gave one final speech as the ceremony ended. Today, we proved that no empire is too big to fall, no tyrant too powerful to defeat, and no people too small to make a difference. We didn't just win a war, we won the future. As the representatives returned to their ships to carry the news home, Earth's children looked up at the stars with wonder instead of fear. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities. And somewhere out there, among the countless worlds in endless space, freedom would always have a home. The story was complete. Humanity had faced its greatest test and passed. They had refused to kneel, and in doing so, they had set the entire galaxy free.